Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Belichick's Bitches podcast, the number one podcast in the world using some sort of metric, using the best source, the only source. Do trust me. I'm your host, Brennan, and along with me, as always, my co-host, Tyler. And if you can hear that vacuum in the background, I am sorry.
I can barely hear it. What's up, though? So we're back. A little bit of a delay, but we're good. Got everything going. And this week, we're going to do our... I don't know how to word this, but I guess
Draft
our favorites
crushes.
at each position.
Our draft
Draft
crushes.
crushes, yeah. This season, now, I don't know how you did this, but I kind of tried to stay away from the first round guys as much as possible.
Yeah,
Because those are kind of obvious.
Yeah.
I have a few that are first round guys, but overall, I try to stay away from them. But I will say, this class is deep in other places, and my lord, the interior D line is atrocious. It
Yes.
is awful.
Yes.
So we'll get into that. I only have one interior D line. I'm sorry. The class was, even though watching the tape for it was just not fun. But so let's move on. So we're gonna start at offense. We don't really have to go by position. Just kind of name the offense. I'm gonna start with probably my number one. And I know I said I tried to stay away from first round guys, but I cheated here. Kadarius Toney. You've heard it before from me.
Wait, where we start? We're starting.
I just say offense, just pick an offensive player.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna do the quarterbacks last. But I'm gonna go with Toney, man. He's my number one on offense. Number one draft crush. In my opinion, he's the best route runner in the class. I know there's Devontae Smith. I don't care. I think Toney's the best route runner.
Okay.
He's gonna get open over the middle, play slot, play outside, play running back if he wants to. The only flaw is really going to be how good is he without Pitts and Trevon Grimes helping him out, because he didn't really get doubled a lot. So that is going to be a little bit of a concern as how is he going to approach that. But he shouldn't be doubled his first year because he's most likely going to go late first, early second. So I doubt he'll be a guy year one. But Toney, man, he's just a freak, and I can't wait to watch him. I don't care where he goes. He'll be one of my favorite players in the league day one. I can just feel it.
All right. I'm gonna go with someone in like the same sort of draft positioning then. The guy I think the guy that could be Justin Jefferson, the next Justin Jefferson this year. Terrence Marshall, the wide receiver at LSU, his former teammate actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. I remember on Twitter last week, there was someone who said, "What's your hottest draft take?" And my hottest draft take is that Terrence Marshall is arguably wide receiver 2 behind Jamar Chase. This dude, even with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson as his teammates, he put up numbers every single game. He put up in 2020 alone, in only 7 games, he put up over 100 receiving yards a game and hauled in double-digit touchdowns for the second consecutive season. He can do everywhere. He can play everywhere. He can play out wide. He can play in the slot. He's great size, like 6'3", 200 pounds. He has great catching ability. He can go up for it. Run after catch ability, route. He basically just has everything, and I think he's being slept on. This guy, arguably wide receiver 2 behind Jamar Chase, in my opinion.
Yeah, I saw that. I said, if you actually ever went public with that, boy, people would not be happy with that. But yeah, Terrence Marshall, I actually got to watch a little bit of his tape the last few weeks, and boy, it's freaky, man. He's gonna be good. No matter where he goes. But this receiver class, man, it's so deep. These guys, Toney, Marshall, they're going to be mid to late first, early second, and they would most likely be a wide receiver run in another class.
Yes.
It's stupid. It's almost just like the quarterback class where there's 4 quarterback ones. There's so many wide receiver ones. You really can't go wrong with a wide receiver in this first round. I'm gonna get this out of the way because this is probably the dumbest one I have.
All right.
But I'm going with the Georgia Tech bias. Okay. Jalen Camp. I think I've talked about him a little bit on the pod, but not much. He is a wide receiver from Georgia Tech. He is 6'3", 220. So he's a little short to play tight end, but a little slow to play wide receiver. But there's one thing about him. He is a monster. He can bench press like 40 reps on the bench. He did that, I think, when he was a sophomore. Amazing strength. One of the strongest pure players in the draft. Issues is he is a terrible route runner. not the best at getting separation. So he's probably not going to play wide receiver at the NFL. So if he is going to play at the NFL, he's going to have to play tight end. I'm just saying. There's a former Georgia Tech player a few years ago that played tight end. Once he got his stuff straightened out, he's one of the top 5 tight ends in the league. Former Georgia Tech wide receivers are good at tight end. As well, all they do is block. I like it. It's not going to be a day one thing. He's going to have to probably be a practice squad player for a year. And he may never even get past the practice squad because a lot of players don't. But I love the project. He's strong. He's going to be a great blocker as well. Played at Georgia Tech. And, dude, I tell you, if he gets it going, it's that speed up a little bit. He is going to be a great tight end in the NFL level. So you're not going to hear a lot about him, but trust me, I guarantee you some NFL teams know the name.
All right.
He's going to be good.
I'm going to go ahead and go with probably a little bit biased here myself, just based off recency stuff. I'm going to go with offensive tackle Brady Christensen out of BYU. So he had a fantastic year this last year, as did a lot of BYU players. He's not great. He doesn't have great athleticism. So remaining him at left tackle may not be your best move. You could probably move him to right tackle. You could probably move inside to guard. He has the intelligence to play anywhere on the offensive line. But he has great size, 6'6", 300 pounds. He has great strength and football IQ. I just don't think you can keep him left tackle just because of his lack of athleticism. He'd struggle against the more speed and finesse rushers in the NFL. But moving him over to right tackle or kicking inside to guard, like, say, a Dalton Reisner, would suit him well for his career.
Yeah. Now, when I was doing some scouting, especially for this week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, well, I'll be honest, my college scouting, I've been slacking lately. I've been slacking lately on my call. So I actually watched a lot of tape this week. And I was looking at the offensive tackle class. Mm-hmm. I think one of my misconceptions was I didn't really like a lot of offensive tackles. That's changed. All right. I admit I didn't watch enough tape. The offensive tackles are pretty good in this class. There's not like a lot of those household, they're going to be good players. It's besides Sewell and, in my opinion, Slater. But, dude, some of these later round guys, like second and third round guys, pretty good. Leon Etchenberg at a Notre Dame. He's a little short, only 6'1", 306. He's identical to Isaiah Wynn. His height, his weight, his arm length. Arm length is 33-inch arms, which is pretty short for an NFL left tackle. You don't see a lot of them with that short arms.
Yeah.
But he was dominant at Notre Dame. Just dominant. So it's a mix. He has the body of work to play left tackle. And Isaiah Wynn plays left tackle. He plays a good left tackle too. It's not like it's impossible for someone his size to play left tackle. It's just it's a red flag, which is why he's probably not high up on a lot of people's boards. Are those arms? But when you have a tackle that was that dominant, especially at Notre Dame in the ACC last year, it's going to get his draft stock up. And I think a late first, maybe middle, early second is a great place to land a potential great left tackle.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can go to that.
Oh, and also, I forgot to say, he did 33 reps on the bench press at his pro day, which was if he would have done that at the combine, would have been like one of the strongest we've ever seen out of tackles the last few years. So, strong as hell.
Yeah. All right. My next guy is going to be, I want to kind of go away from like guys I've already talked about to like the end. So I'm going to go with, because I haven't talked about really many of them because there isn't really many to talk about except for Kyle Pitts. I'm going to go with Kenny Yeboah, the tight end out of Ole Miss.
I was close to putting him on before I picked Camp. I was close. we were close on that.
6'4", 250 pounds, great size. He really likes to line up, or at least at Ole Miss, they really like to line him up right next to the offensive tackle and sort of like he's at that F position, like he's kind of moved down a little bit, but right next to the offensive tackle. He does well as both a blocker and a receiver, strong hands, and he runs decent routes. Very good over the middle. especially in the red zone. He's really good at boxing out defenders. So this guy's a do-it-all tight end that you could probably see as like a tight end 2 early on in his career, maybe develop into that tight end 1, especially if he gets like a West Coast style offense, like him in like say like Seattle or like LA or just anywhere that runs that kind of like West Coast Shanahan style offense, he'd succeed in.
I saw a joke. And it says, I'm going to put Kyle Shanahan scheme fit in my Tinder bio.
Alrighty then.
He said, because everyone's a Shanahan at this point. But yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I did actually was pretty close. I actually had him written on my thing for a while, and then I said I didn't really like him enough to put him over Camp because, well, I had to talk about Georgia Tech boy. I had to do it. But yeah. Let's go another one of my favorite players. Now, this is a lot of players' favorite guy. Interior offensive line isn't the strongest position in this class. I'd say beside interior D-line, it's probably the second weakest. Yeah. There's not too many day one starters, I don't think. But how can you not love Landon Dickerson out of Alabama? First of all, he's a mammoth, 6'6", 330. So that's a huge center. He's also amazing. Like he's always just, you could always just see he's just that guy in the locker room. He's gonna be a locker room guy day one. He's just gonna be that dude. He was messing around with Mac Jones at his pro day. He was doing cartwheels on a torn ACL. It takes a lot of skill, by the way.
Yeah,
big boy. He's powerful though. He wasn't like with all the talent in Alabama. You know, Najee, Smith, Waddle. You had Mac Jones, who's now somehow seen as quarterback 3. He kind of flew under the radar because he is a center. Yeah, he was definitely the gel that helped that team stay together. So he's going to be great at the NFL level. I don't know what his injuries looks like. It's going to be, he may have to sit out his rookie year. I didn't see that. But he's definitely going to be an NFL, either center or guard.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
6'6", 330. He's going to play at the NFL level. A team's just going to find him, plug him in. Round 2 pick, hey, get your guy in the interior.
Fair enough. I'm going to go with a running back here. My first one. I'm going to go with Kenneth Gainwell out of Memphis. 5'11", 191. He played quarterback in high school, actually, so that's pretty cool. You'll probably use him in some gadget plays if you need. He's really dynamic, great vision, elusiveness, and he's actually a really good pass catcher and underrated with his power as well. He's the best in outside zone scheme, but you could probably run him up the middle if you need him, and he could also play some slot work if you really need slot work. He's only played 1 year really at Memphis, but I really like this guy's like home run ability. I think he's gonna be good.
Yeah, Gainwell. I did an NCAA 14 offensive coordinator one, and I was at Memphis. Gainwell was just overpowered. And then I looked him up in real life because I knew this was his class. He's pretty good. I guess I'll take your idea and go running back.
All right.
I have 2 here. I'll go with the one that is kind of getting underrated. Trey Sermon. Now, there's a lot of running backs in this class that have a lot of body of work. A lot of guys that have ran for, thousands of yards and this, that, up and down. But I'm just going to direct everyone's attention to the 2 playoff games, especially the first round. Just watch Trey Sermon. He's powerful. He's not the fastest guy. He puts his shoulder down, goes for contact. I love that type of runner. He is going to be a great running back at the NFL level. He's not very fast. He only ran like a 4.6 40, which someone say that was a little slower because of an injury or whatever. I'm not putting too much stock into the 40s this year. I don't think they really count because, well, they're all pro days.
Yeah.
But he's going to put his shoulder down. He's going to get you 4 or 5 yards after contact. And those runners, you're starting to see more of them again in the NFL. Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, starting to see them again. And I wouldn't put him on that level yet, obviously. But as a late second round project, He's a guy you can get in, use him on first and second down. His pass catching needs a little work, but he's going to be a day one power runner, and I think that's still valuable in the NFL now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if I had redone my top 10 before I went into this, I'd probably put Trey Sermon in there.
Yep.
But yeah, I really liked him during the playoffs. It's sad that he got hurt and had to go to the hospital during the playoffs. It would have been nice to see him play it through, but things happen. Then you just got to roll with the punches.
Master Teague, though, played very well in his placement. He was very good.
Yeah.
Master Teague's going to be one of those guys in a few years you're going to see up boards.
I mean, I could go with this guy, but he's so much talked about now that it's not even a sleeper anymore thanks to the Senior Bowl. I would go with Quinn Meinerz out of Wisconsin Whitewater.
Mm-hmm.
But he's probably he's talked about way too much in the national media, so I'm going to go with a different interior offensive lineman who's not projected to be nearly as high. I'm going to go with Robert Jones, the interior offensive lineman out of Middle Tennessee State.
Ooh.
I see him as an offensive guard. He could easily play tackle as well. He's probably a good swing tackle if you need, but a great developmental guard. He is a mauler, and he is a big boy, 6'4", 320 pounds. He has great build. Just sticking him on the interior of your offensive line will be great for you. He was one of the top JUCO transfers in the country, where he played left guard. He doesn't have great athleticism, so using him for pulling and seeing him as like a long-term option at tackle probably isn't your best bet. He's best bet to be for at least year one as a swing tackle and a backup guard, and you let him develop, and you're gonna have a great potential guard for like a low cost on say day 3 of the draft. If you have a great offensive line coach, you should be definitely looking at Robert Jones.
Oh yeah. I think you talked about him on a episode, didn't you?
Nope.
Is it really?
Never talked about him.
I know I've heard that name before. I haven't seen his tape. I'm gonna look into that later. Oh. Yeah, I gotta look into that. I guess I'll do my second offensive lineman. This one is purely because the man is a freak athlete. Trey Smith out of Tennessee. Now,
yeah,
on the surface, his technique is not the best. I worry about his pass protection. However, he is a mauler in the run game. Just a beast. He's going to be great day one at that. I don't know if he starts specifically. It's going to be interesting. I don't know. He's going to have a developmental curve like a lot of offensive linemen do in the NFL. But I don't know. I like his size. He's 6'6", 330. I didn't see what he benched, but I don't think he has tackle flexibility. I didn't see that anywhere, and I didn't really see that in this game. But again, man, run blocking, he's going to be great. I think he could fit on one of those teams that already has a pretty established offensive line. Maybe, and I'm throwing it out there, Miami. Be a good pick for him. I wouldn't be rushed. Let him sit maybe for a year. Get him, into that scheme. I like it. I think he almost fits into any scheme because he's just a run blocker. Go out there, hit the guy in front of you. He's going to do well against a lot of the bigger interior defensive lines. It's just I worry about him against Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
I worry about anyone against Aaron Donald, but especially a guy with not much technique. I'm worried about him going up against a finesse pass rusher on the inside. But, again, the athlete is there. So, when I look at offensive lineman, I look at athlete first. I feel like technique is something you can kind of develop more. It's just I want that athlete when I draft an offensive lineman.
That's fair.
I think that is what Trey Smith is.
Go all like Garrett Bowles. Draft athlete and hope you can develop.
Hey, man. Just like Drew Lock. Garrett Bowles just needed a few years. Just like Drew Lock.
Yeah, totally the same thing. So I'm going to go with my last offensive tackle here. I'm going to go with someone who's actually talked about a lot, like before 2020 started, as one of the top tackles in this class. And then he got injured, and he's fallen. He's fallen far to like fourth, fifth round. He's the best pass protector in this class, and that's Walker Little out of Stanford.
Oh yeah.
This dude's the best pass, in my opinion, the best, if not one of the, if not the best pass protector in this class. This dude has great athleticism. He's a eventual starting NFL left tackle, in my opinion. Honestly, whoever grabs him, as long as he clears physicals and all that stuff, you're getting a steal. He's a decent run blocker. You'll never see him like overpower anyone in the run game and like push vertically, but you know, he can do his dirty work in the run game, but his pass protection is where he shines. And he had a knee injury in 2019 and opted out of 2020, so he's kind of an unknown as why he's fallen thus far. But if you get your hands on him, whoo, that's a steal.
Yeah, I actually had him on mine. That was my second tackle.
Oof.
Because I didn't understand how he was so disrespected to me. I know the injury, but yeah, he doesn't get talked about a lot. But one guy who does, and I actually kind of put this guy mainly because I love his tape. He's going to be probably a late first round guy. I actually mocked him, I think, in one of our mocks. Samuel Cosmi out of Texas. Now, you know how I was talking about Etchenberg, short arms, this guy is the exact opposite. This man is 6'7", 315 pounds. He has 33-inch arms. It doesn't matter when you're 6'7", nearly as much. Big boy, huge reach. The only issue I have is he never showed that dominance. Out of a tackle, you want them to show that physicality and dominance. He doesn't do that at times. Almost looks like he doesn't put in the effort sometimes. That's his biggest concern out of his play. Sometimes he'll just kind of let guys go, or something. He won't try his hardest. But again, that's something I think that can be molded and changed. But the physicality and reach, it's there. Going to be a great player. At first, Chiefs. He'd be a great guy to place next to Tooney. Keep Tooney at left guard. Put this man at left tackle, and Tooney will teach him all he needs to know. And I think you have a great left tackle, left guard duo for 5-6 years. So, Chiefs, much as I don't like it, go get your tackle. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, Walker Little was my guy.
I just realized my one of my only other guards didn't declare. So oof. I was going to talk about Cade Mays, but he didn't declare, so never mind about him. I'll go with an offensive tackle that I think is best suited as an offensive guard. Again, here in the I'm going to go with Alaric Jackson out of Iowa. He has kind of short arms, but this dude definitely has the physicality and ability to play guard. He's a good tackle in college, as with most Iowa offensive linemen. Iowa, if they're good for one thing, it's offensive linemen and tight ends. And sleepers in the secondary, at least, for the most part. You can get decent guys in the secondary. Iowa's just all around a decent program. They don't produce anyone that's like stars, except for like Tristan Wirfs, or like if you're not a tight end or offensive line, pretty much you're just solid at Iowa. But Alaric Jackson, one of those, he actually got to play with Tristan Wirfs on the left side of the line, and those two on both in the same offensive line in college were as nasty. He'll probably play guard in the NFL just because of his arm length, and he's not an overwhelming athlete, so he's probably best suited to play the inside. And I think he'll probably be maybe a 5th round pick. I know I talked about earlier on the podcast, one of the earliest episodes.
Yeah, you did. I remember you talking about him. I finished my offensive lineman, so I'm gonna go.
Yeah, that was my last one.
Talk about the fun positions. I guess I'll do my first offensive weapon, and this is one I think you'll know. Puka Williams. First of all, 10 out of 10 name. All right, draft him in the second round just on his name alone. I digress. He is the opposite of a lot of the other, like I said, running back, wide receivers, where they have a complete crap ton of pedigree and stats, and he doesn't have that. Didn't really put up much stats in either his junior senior year, but he is explosive, and he's going to fit any scheme. Play third down back. He can be your gadget player. He can even be maybe your workhorse, maybe a year or two down the line once he bulks and he gets back to the NFL game. Year one, he's going to be great in just a gimmicky type role. You can line him up in the slot. You can line him up backfield. I wouldn't go out wide yet. Not that crazy. But he's going to be a player. He's going to move around. He honestly a little reminds me of Alvin Kamara. Just the way he plays. And who knows? Kamara had a pretty good impact his rookie year. So I think it's possible. Probably going to be a late third, early fourth round player. But he's going to be explosive. And he, along the other Anthony Shorts, Tutu Atwells, I think Puka is the number one offensive weapon in this class. I love him. Plus, 10 out of 10 name. How can you go wrong with drafting a guy named Puka? It's perfect.
That's very fair. I'm going to go with my second wide receiver. And this is another guy I've talked about before. That's something you're going to notice a lot is guys I've already talked about before, just because they're guys that were my college player of the weeks, and I really enjoyed their film, so I'm going to keep with them. This can be Dwayne Eskridge, the wide receiver out of Western Michigan. He used to play defensive back at Western Michigan, then he changed to wide receiver. He's played back and forth between the two positions. He had extremely high production his final season, and he's very well developed and has the mentality of a defensive player. He's extremely strong. He's nasty, especially he's decent in the run game, actually, for a guy that's 5'9", 190. You can use him a lot on special teams as well, both coverage and returning, just because of his background as a defensive player. If you have a quarterback that likes throwing interceptions, he could definitely be someone to bat away some of those interceptions that might happen. So he provides some value there too. He needs to develop his hands a little bit better. Obviously, he's only 5'9", so he's not going to be traditional X or wide receiver. He's going to be mainly limited to the slot. But he has a good enough route tree to where he can play year one.
Yeah, I remember you talking about him. I do remember that. Okay. Now, with all the receivers in this class, you have a multitude. You have a bunch of speed guys, a bunch of, just go up and get them receivers. Mm-hmm. But I think one of my favorites, and one of the ones whose tape I actually found while not even trying to find him. I was trying to find Jamie Newman stuff. And I found Sage Surratt out of Wake Forest.
Yeah.
First of all I got to say is 3 words. 3 words can sum up Sage Surratt. Deep ball threat. Is his route running the best? No. Does he have the best cuts? No. Can he go up and get the ball and outrun people? You're damn right. He's a freak, man. He is amazing. He's so fun to watch. He made Jamie Newman look a lot better than he was. I'm just saying. Great player. Again, his route running's gonna need a lot of development, but he could definitely be that receiver. You just kind of go up, have him say, "Get open, man. Post straight." Maybe I hope he doesn't get stuck with the Doug Peterson type guy who just told him to run streaks all day. That was infuriating. But hopefully he doesn't. But again, just go up and get it. And I think, in my opinion, when you're looking at pure deep ball, he's up there with Jamar Chases and Marshalls and all them. But it's just he hasn't getting talked about because, well, he's from Wake Forest, and people from Wake Forest don't get talked about a lot.
Yeah.
It's kind of the nature of the beast. He's going to be a great late day 2, early day 3 pick.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Before I update my top 10, he currently sits at my wide receiver 7.
Yep. He is my wide receiver 8. Which, in this class, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Being a top 10 receiver in this class, he would be a top 5, top 3 in other classes. It's special. So, yeah. This receiver class is just so deep with guys, man.
I'm going to say my offensive weapons for the last of my guys, since they're pretty similar. So I'm gonna go with my last tight end, Quentin Morris, the tight end of Bowling Green. He had extremely great seasons in 2018, 2019, but he only played 5 games in 2020. He was great throughout his entire career at Bowling Green. He was the target in that Bowling Green offense, and he has versatility. He's a good run blocker. You can play him in line, you can play him in the wing, you can play him flexed out. You can use him basically anywhere. He's a tight end that can play anywhere. His route tree is a bit limited. You could definitely develop that. It's not like he's completely inagile. So he's a really good developmental number 3 tight end to like keep, maybe a practice squad guy, but I honestly wouldn't stash him on the practice squad. I think he could easily get picked up. He is only 6'2", but he is 250 pounds, so he's not really a jump ball guy, but he will be a great blocker day one and a guy that you can really develop to be a solid tight end 2, if not a tight end 1 on a poorly tight end depth team.
Hey, there's a lot of those. New England was one before we signed 2 of the best ones in the market.
Yeah.
I'll go with my last running back. Chuba Hubbard.
Back. That's right.
Chuba Hubbard. Yes. Is he popular? Yes.
He used to be a lot more popular.
Blame me? Yeah. How can you blame me? Like, if you want to know, hey, what is your number 1 pitch for drafting Chuba Hubbard? I'm just going to write 2019. I don't need to explain anything else. 2019. I think he put up the most rushing yards in history, a single season. 2,094, something like that. Stupid. Absolutely stupid. One of the best college running backs we've seen in year, guys. Great burst. Speed is great. He ran let me see if I can find his 40 real quick. He ran a 4.37. Now, again, pro day with a grain of salt. He's a freak. Just fast. His only issue is he was a little injured last season. That's why he pulled out. He said, I don't want to risk my draft stock anymore because his draft stock was already third round, but he should be higher. He should have went to the draft last year. I'm just saying. Some team in like the late second is going to get a potential franchise back. Just chilling there. And yeah, he is my running back 3 behind Etienne and Harris. I think he is the best running back. As much as I like Trey Sermon, I think Trey Sermon's a great guy, but I think day one, it's not even a contest. Chuba Hubbard's going to be a great NFL running back.
Currently, Hubbard is my running back 5 before I update.
Interesting. I only have actually like 7 running backs written down. I need to do more running back written, but yeah.
I'm going to go with my last running back as well. You know, I could talk about Khalil Herbert again being so similar to C.J. Anderson and how much I love that, but you know, I've talked about Khalil Herbert enough, I think. So I'm gonna go with Javian Hawkins, the running back out of Louisville. Nice. This guy is 5'9", but he's 200 pounds. This guy reminds me a lot of Austin Eckler, to be honest. That's my pro comp for him. He's undersized. He's very quick and elusive and has a home run speed if you need. He's not probably a feature back, but you can definitely use him anywhere. Jet motion, perimeter runs. You can get him involved in the passing game too. He didn't get too involved in the passing game at Louisville, but he has definitely shown the ability to be a reliable receiver. And basically do undersized, speed guy, reliable receiver. He has some carrying issues. He has some ball carrying issues, but that's a bit worrying. But he's probably not going to be your running back 1 anyway, and that's why my comp for him is Austin Eckler.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had to go get something.
It's all good.
I had to go get my notes for when we talk about the quarterbacks. My last player is an offensive weapon. And I'm kind of tied between these 2 players because they're eerily similar. Both are great athletes. Kind of don't really have a position yet. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to go with the one that's not talked about nearly as much. And that's Tutu Atwell out of Louisville. Now, when you think of explosive receiver/running back options in this class. Normally, the first one will be Anthony Schwartz. That's fair. Schwartz, great guy, great speed. But I think Atwell is probably going to be a better NFL player. Just off my gut. He's a little bit better of a receiver than Schwartz, has more sure hands. His route running is a little bit better. He actually, believe it or not, for a guy that's kind of a tweener position, he put up 2,300 receiving yards in 3 years at Louisville, which is pretty impressive. Schwartz has only put up 1,400, and most of that came his freshman year. I really like Atwell. He's a little undersized. He's 5'9", which, if we know anything about Rondale Moore, it's probably more 5'7". But I definitely think it's possible for him to carve out a role at day one, and he's going to be great value in the middle of the draft. That's what makes these offensive weapons so dangerous. There's so many of these good weapons that are going to be available round 3, round 4. So that's what's going to make those 2 rounds a little bit more exciting in the average year. How much depth are at these positions, wide receivers, running backs, these weapons are only going to fall. And it's going to create for some interesting day 3 picks. I can't wait. Tutu Atwell's that guy. Anthony Schwartz will go before him. Atwell, mark my words, will be a better NFL player.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to go with my 2 offensive weapons that I have. And I'll just kind of smudge them in together since they're both very similar. One guy I've already talked about, so I'm not going to spend too much time on him, is Jalen Darden, the wide receiver out of North Texas. He's only 5. He's another one of the smaller guys. He's 5'9". Great returner, extremely elite not break tackle, elusiveness and making you miss kind of ability. Yards after catch, extremely great. He'd be best serving for on returning and screens and bubbles and throwing vertically to him very early on in his career while he develops. And then the next guy I want to talk about is, I'm sorry if I mispronounce this, Ihmir Smith-Marsette, wide receiver out of Iowa. This guy is a bit more of a developmental guy that you could see as more of a gadget guy. No, not as more of a gadget guy, more of a actual wide receiver. He's 6'2", 186. He has elite speed, return skills. He's great in the vertical game. He got open a lot at Iowa. Honestly, doesn't get a lot of attention because he played at Iowa and he's a wide receiver. Some things that you may want to look for is his functional strength. You might need to worry about a little bit, but he was still highly productive on a per touch basis. You probably want to write down that he got arrested on a speeding and DUI on the 1st of November of 2020. And he also ended his college career getting injured on a celebratory front flip for a touchdown that resulted in an ankle injury that kept him out of the rest of the 2020 season. So there's some character concerns you may want to worry about with Ihmir Smith-Marsette, but depending on how you feel about those, he could be a better developmental actual wide receiver than Jalen Darden.
Yeah. That's what we're seeing is a lot more projects that are just being turned into better NFL players. And that's just with better scouting and better coaching.
Yeah.
Than we've had. So that's what makes those offensive weapons so dangerous is they could turn out just to be a completely great receiver. They could turn out to be a good running back. They could just turn out to be one of those guys that plays both.
Yeah.
And again, I love that. So I'm all for it. That's what makes this, especially this draft, just so much more fun. There's so many weapons you can't even talk about. There's so many receivers I wish I could talk about. Bateman, Moore, Dynamie Brown, just so many guys that are
Dax
just great.
Milne.
And yeah, I mean, we just finished offense, and we could talk for another 2 hours just about the offense.
Mari Rogers, Dynamie Brown. Yeah, you already said that.
Yeah, I mean, just insane. I mean, I didn't even get to talk about Jarrett Patterson, who, in my opinion, is one of my favorite running backs, beside Chuba Hubbard and Tracer. I mean, dude, just watch Patterson just run. It brings a smile to my face, man.
He reminds me a lot of the Buffalo running back. It's funny. He plays at Buffalo and it reminds me of the Buffalo running back. What's his name? Singletary.
Singletary, yeah. He had 8 touchdowns in one game? Something stupid like that.
Yeah, Patterson did, yeah. He had an insane game sometime this year. I don't remember who against it was.
Yeah, but I do remember that, like, whatever was going crazy over it. All right, so let's go defense. Now, defense, in my opinion, overall is a little weaker than the offense. This is that draft.
Oh, 100%.
However, I think especially later rounds it might be a little stronger, especially with how good edges are in the late first. There's going to be more defensive value, despite it probably not being as good of a class. The value you're going to get, especially with 4 quarterbacks going 4, most likely. Yeah, you're going to see a lot of great value in the late first on defense.
You can see 4 quarterbacks going in the top 5, honestly, if Cincinnati decides to trade down, which they shouldn't.
It's honestly possible we could see 5 quarterbacks go the first 5 picks.
Yes,
it's not 100. It's not overly possible, but it's a very good chance that Atlanta trades out of 4.
It's already unprecedented that 4 quarterbacks are going to go in the top 4 picks. Yeah. It'd be even more unprecedented if 5 quarterbacks win the first 5 picks.
Yeah, of course, one of those.
It's being Mac Jones.
Kind of like it's like when you're playing Among Us. It's like there's one imposter. It's Trey Lance, it's Trevor Lawrence, it's Zach Wilson, it's Mac Jones. Like, I'm sorry, but anyway, we can't just keep riling on Mac because he's gonna be good and prove us wrong.
I'm okay with that, but
oh yeah, me too. But with our luck,
yeah.
I'm gonna start off with the player I think you and me have talked about 100 million times, so I'm just gonna get it out of the way so we don't keep repeating. Kwity Paye out of Michigan. I just love his tape too much not to put him on. I'm sorry. 3rd straight year with a Michigan edge rusher in the class. With our luck, New England will pick him up because, well, we love Michigan edge rushers out here. His burst is just out of this world. His 3-cone, his shell are just stupid. 6'4", 275. He's going to be a day 1 player. I don't care what team. I don't care where. Even if it's just as a 3rd down specialist in the beginning, I don't care. He's going to play a lot. He's going to be a great edge rusher, and that burst is going to help him. He may need a while before he develops that run stuffing ability. But, again, NFL is all about pass rush. So, Kwity Paye, I talked about him a lot. I promise I'll try not to talk about him until the draft.
I'm going to go with an edge guy, too. I'm going to go with one of the lower guys, much lower on the board. I could easily go with my 2 draft crushes at edge. Both being edge 1 for me between Jalen Phillips and Azeez Ojulari. I'll probably talk about one of them later just because it's easy to do and I love them both. But I'm going to go with an edge rusher out of Buffalo called Malcolm Kuntz. He's 6'3", 250 pounds. This guy has great length. And he's played in both traditional stand-up. He's played from stand-up edge and traditional 3-point position. This dude's got a great club and rip move. It's his go-to tactic, so he might rely on it a bit too much at the NFL level, but you can easily develop him some more pass rush moves. He has okay bend. His bend's not terrible, but it's also not great. It's an average bend. He can get around the corners of edges easily. He's probably best as a 3rd down rusher, especially in like NASCAR packages at the beginning of his career. He has a great motor, relentless chasing the ball, good athlete, and he knows how to stack and shed and push and pull when necessary in the run game. He's not lacking in that, but he's still probably best as a developmental edge rusher. Especially because he's so long, it's tough for blockers to get inside of his frame, which is a big addition for him. He can get moved off his spots in the run game. He needs to develop a little bit more strength in the run. But I just really like this guy as a great developmental 3-4 outside backer. If the Broncos want to take an edge late in the draft, I definitely would stand on the table for Malcolm Kuntz.
Yeah. Again, the names in this class are just top tier. Too bad Smoke Monday isn't in this class. It'll be a next one, but Smoke Monday. I want to save as many of these secondary guys because I think the secondary is my favorite part of the defense in this class. There's just so many secondary guys I want to talk about. I'm gonna go with my other 1st round guy because the rest aren't 1st round guys. I think again another guy I've talked about a lot. He is probably my number one draft crush on defense, beside another one we'll talk later. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. I think I mocked him to the Browns in one of my mocks.
So are you using him as a linebacker or a defensive weapon?
Everywhere.
Defensive weapon.
I think linebacker isn't. I don't think he's going to play a lot of linebacker year one, just because he needs to bulk.
Yeah.
He's only 215 pounds. So realistically, I don't see him playing much linebacker unless it's like a third down and like 8 situation. You're not going to see him play much. However, I don't care where he plays. He played a lot of slot corner at Notre Dame. I think that'll be his primary day one position.
Yeah.
You'll see him move around to safety. Almost think of like what Derwin was as a rookie, where he played a lot of slot corner and then he moved back to safety and eventually was like their primary sub linebacker along with playing at safety. I think that's what you'll see with Koramoah. Again, man, he's not perfect at linebacker. I get it. But his athleticism is going to be found at the NFL field.
Oh, 100%.
He's going to make plays on the ball. He's going to be worth that first round pick. In my opinion, Cleveland is the perfect place for him. It just makes sense. They need help at all those 3 positions: slot corner, safety, and linebacker. He can develop into your future linebacker. He can be that star safety. He can be that great corner number 3 that you need. It's worth the pick. I love Koramoah. I love his tape. Could watch his hit sticks all day. Beautiful hit sticks.
That's very true. That is very.
Dude,
they're so
there was
satisfying.
That one. I don't know who it was on. It was on some big boy tight end, and he killed the poor tight end. I thought they were going to have to bury him on the 40-yard line. It was atrocious. He can hit guys twice his size. It doesn't matter. I love Koramoah. I could talk about Koramoah all day. I get hyped just talking about him. And when he gets picked in the first, I'm going to be happy for that team.
And a part of his game that's underrated that you could probably see him play linebacker in earlier downs at the NFL level is he's a very underrated blitzer on the inside.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You honestly could say his pro comp, if you really wanted to get crazy, is Jamal Adams. You could really go there and say he's a Jamal Adams type player.
It's fair. Yeah, I see it. I'm going to go with a linebacker. Oh, there's so many linebackers I like. I have 4 linebackers that I like. I'm going to go with this guy because he's not getting talked about like at all. He's possibly undrafted, currently projected. I'm going to go with linebacker at Texas A&M, Buddy Johnson.
Buddy,
he's
before we talk about him,
okay.
I swear I have heard that name a few years ago. And I was like, damn, he's going to be pretty good. And I completely forgot about him. I feel ashamed. Go ahead.
He's a bit undersized at 6'2", 228, but he makes up for his size and effort. He's very instinctive and physical, especially as a Mike linebacker. He's very strong in run defense, but he's not unathletic like most traditional run stoppers that you'll see in the NFL, like your like Josie Jewells, your Todd Davises, those kinds of guys. He still has some athleticism. He's still proved himself pretty decent in coverage. I've seen tape of him covering, like, say, Najee Harris out of the backfield, some slot receivers, and some other running backs. He actually did pretty well against Kyle Pitts as well in the red zone, which I was really impressed with. He'll still need to develop his pass coverage a lot. He has some stiffness in his hips, so you might want to do a bunch of agility drills with him, try and get those loosened up if he can. But he's going to be a great special teams player year one, and down the line you could easily see him as like a starting middle linebacker in a Mike or Sam role.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember hearing about him a few years ago. I was like, damn, he could be pretty good, and I just completely forgot about him. I feel bad. Dang it. All right, I'm gonna go over my one interior D line.
I have 3.
In my opinion, there was others, and I watched a good amount. I watched a few hours of it. Only one, again, and I'm going this guy purely for one reason. He's not going to be a high pick. He may honestly be like a 6th-round pick. However, it's too attractive. Quentin Bohanna, a big boy, a thick boy, whatever you want to say. I mean, he's huge, 6'4", 360. That was his listed playing weight. Apparently, there was rumors he was at 380. At his pro day, he was at 330. So he can go up and down, which is positive. Speed, not the best. I think it was like 5'3". But you're not getting him for the speed. You're getting him to eat up on blocks on first down. That's what he does. He eats up the blocks. He's not a great pass rusher on the inside. He's pushing the pockets a little 50-50. Sometimes he does really great. Sometimes he just tries to overpower him and gets double teamed and doesn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
That happened a lot. But when the other team is trying to run the ball, no, you ain't running past that. I'm sorry. He reminds me a lot of Danny Shelton. The way Danny Shelton plays, especially in New England. Just a physical body. He's going to make plays in the run game day one. He's going to be a great first down lineman. You could even say he could be a first down guy year one, and then they probably take him off the field in pass rush situations because, well, he ain't going to get to the quarterback. And that's not his job. I think, again, great nose tackle. That's a premium in the NFL. You need those. They're not the most glamorous position, interior D-line. They really don't get the respect as much unless you're Aaron Donald. So, hey, I think he's going to be a great player. And if you're talking about how weak of an interior D-line class this is, if I had to pick two guys to be starters in 5 years, Bohanna would be one of them. Because I think he has a game that transcends how long the NFL will last. He's going to be needed for a while.
All right.
So, Quinton Bohanna, a big boy.
Is he your favorite name and for the interior defensive lineman?
No. Oh, favorite name on interior D-line?
Yeah.
No, Barmore. How do you not like the name Barmore? Christian Barmore. That just sounds disgusting. I love it.
I found a much better name that I like. I'm not going to talk about him because I haven't watched a lot of his film, but this is my favorite name on the interior defensive line is Isaiah Loudermilk.
Loudermilk.
No, louder. Like
Loudermilk?
Loudermilk.
Loudermilk. That is great, dude.
Yeah.
What's your name, bro? My name is Loudermilk.
It's just like it's just whenever you open the carton of milk, it just screams at you.
That's fun.
So the actual interior defensive lineman I'm going to talk about is Khyiris Tonga out of BYU. 6'4", 322 pounds. He played a lot of zero tech. Year one, he's going to be a pure nose tackle. He's great in run defense. He's extremely difficult to single block. Well, at least he was in college. You might single block him or double block him in the NFL level. Probably single block him in year one. He needs to be more consistent, disengaging, but he does show the ability to get to the football. He is stronger more than he's explosive, so he's much stronger than he is athletic. He has a really underrated bull rush, and is actually pretty good at knocking down passes. So early in his years, he's going to be just a pure nose tackle. He could develop into, say, like a more of a Shelby Harris kind of role with the ball batting down and some pass rush moves. But Shelby Harris is a lot better of a pass rusher and probably a lot better of a ball batter. But that's probably my pro comp is a bigger, slower Shelby Harris.
Yeah. I know this isn't important to the podcast, but I had to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama A&M is playing Jackson State today, and I remember going to a Georgia Tech Alabama A&M game when I was like 12. Georgia Tech obliterated them. It was pretty funny. I don't know why I wanted to say that, but I saw A&M trending, and I didn't even know they still existed. Moving on. I'm going to talk about one of my corners because I got to, and there's so many corners in this class. The corner depth in this class is absurd. In my opinion, first of all, you have 4 first-round guys that I think are going to be all very good players at the NFL level. And then once you get past the second round, you have a bunch of interesting projects. I think the first interesting project is going to be Keith Taylor out of Washington. He's definitely one you haven't heard a lot out of.
Senior Bowl guy.
Mm-hmm. And he also had a stupid pro day. 6'3", 215. He has that size that every team is looking for. He has 31-inch arms, which is a little shorter, but at 6'3", that makes up for it. 4.41 speed. He is a blazer with that stuff. So again, physicality plus. His biggest concern is that his zone coverage is pretty bad. They ran a man coverage mainly. He's great in man, but his zone is just atrocious. It needs a lot of work. And when he did run into zone, it wasn't very pretty. But again, very physical corner. I think he could be a day one starter depending on the team. If the team's corner depth isn't very good, Green Bay, it makes sense. All right, he would fit well into Green Bay. I guarantee he would take King's job day one. And I think with that size and speed, you have to give him a shot. I'd say maybe third, fourth round guy. But with that physicality and that height and speed, he's going to be a great draft pick.
Oh yeah, he's also a very good tackler.
Oh yeah,
he's underrated as a tackler. He's probably one of the best tackling corners in this class.
Yeah.
I really like his fit in the Fangio scheme, honestly, especially because Washington runs a lot of match coverage, which Fangio loves to do, and especially good tackler, press man corner. I think it'd be a great fit.
Oh yeah. There's like half the teams in the league he would be a great scheme fit for, and then if you run his own scheme, stay away because he's not going to be there for you.
But Seattle's like, but the height, length, speed though.
So who you got next?
I'm gonna go with. I like all these linebackers. Oh, I like too many linebackers for my own good. I'm gonna go with a sleeper at safety, like I haven't talked about yet. A guy that potentially go undrafted, probably a practice squad stasher, perhaps. Sean Davis out of Florida. This dude is rangy. He's extremely scheme versatile. You can play him both at single high and a split safety 2 high. He didn't play much of it when he last played, which is in 2019. I think he was an opt-out this last season. He has great football IQ. I don't understand why he's not really getting a lot of hype. Probably because he's a bit undisciplined. He really likes going for the highlight play. But yeah, that's my biggest flaw with him is that he goes too much for the highlight play. And his pursuit's not great, but I don't see how he's projected like 7th round undrafted. Honestly, in my opinion, he's like a 4th rounder, 5th rounder at worst.
And the reason that is because there's just so many corners and safeties in this class that a lot of those good guys are just going to get overseen for a while, just because there's so many names.
Yeah,
and it's the same at the wide receiver position. I'm gonna go with my second linebacker. I'll be honest, the linebacker class, I know I couldn't pick that guy from Kentucky because, I know you're going to talk about him, which he would have been my pick, but I didn't want to impede. So I went with an interesting LSU guy.
He's been my guy for a long time.
Yeah. I went with an LSU guy, Jabril Cox.
Oh, I love Jabril Cox. He's my defensive weapon.
Yeah, like you said, he doesn't really have a place at the moment. He's 6'4", 230, pretty good speed. He only was a 1-year starter though, which is a little bit of a concern, especially if you are planning on using him in the middle.
He also played at NDSU. That's where he started out his career.
But I really do like his raw athleticism. His tape was very good. I loved it. Again, I don't know about 2nd round. I think he would be probably a late 2nd, early 3rd round pick for me. But hey, man, those LSU backers are something else. That size and ability to cover the middle, that's going to make him an attractive prospect.
Yeah.
And again, you always need height, weight, speed over the middle. Any team could use that.
He's the best coverage backer in the draft, in my opinion.
I could see that. I don't know about best, but yeah, I could see that. Yeah. But yeah, his tape was pretty good. So we've had 2 similar players, Cox and Walker Little. I'm surprised that's the only 2. I'm probably gonna have more. Then again, we haven't got to corners yet.
So since you practically already mentioned him, I'm gonna talk about Jamin Davis.
Jamin Davis. How was his name?
This dude is just. I had him so much higher than everyone else. Like before we stopped doing college player of the weeks, he was my very next college player of the week. So like the past over a month, he's been my college player of the week, and I've had him like in my top 3 linebackers in this class. Currently saying out linebacker 2, potentially linebacker 1. But he's long, he's rangy, he's explosive. He could use a bit more work in zone coverage, but he can definitely play zone. He's not great as a run defender, but that's not what you're drafting him for. He has second level speed. He has that next level speed. He can go anywhere on the field that you need him to go. His processing is great. His pursuit is great. It's just a lack. He just needs to be. He has all the tools that you need from a linebacker, especially with his length at 6'4", 225. You just need to iron him out, which I think he'd be the best spot in Denver because Fangio is such a great linebacker coach. I'd love to see Jamin Davis in Denver with Fangio. I think that'd be a pleasure to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually looking at his tape because I know you kept mentioning him. Trust me. You do keep mentioning him.
If Broncos trade down, I really want Jamin Davis.
Yeah. You don't want Micah Parsons, man? You don't want
You mean the guy that's not even my top 10 linebackers? Yeah, I totally want him.
I'm trying to decide. I'm gonna pick one of my secondary guys. I think I'm gonna go with my defensive weapon. Now, if I had to pick a draft crush out of the whole class, besides Tony, it's this guy. All right, it's Israel Mukuamu. First of all, as you could probably tell, I'm a sucker for height at corner. I just love tall corners. I think it's viable. I think speed matters, but I think height, especially if you're over 6'1", I think it just makes you a pretty better corner. And I'm sorry, Israel Mukuamu, 6'4", 205. He is rangy. Gonna be even if he doesn't work out at corner, he has two other positions he could play. I still think he could be a safety at the NFL level. He played a little bit of safety at college, pretty decent at it. I still think if he bulks, he could be a cover backer if he really wanted to. I love his game. He has a 4.4 time. I still think he could be a tweener. He needs to bulk. But what he reminds me of, and I think the impact he's going to have as a rookie, is a fourth round guy that is a day one starter that makes an impact, almost makes the defensive rookie of the year case. Like a Jeremy Chin type guy. I don't think he'll be playing the same role, but if you're talking about name value year one, I think that's going to be it. I think he's going to be a stud. I think he's going to be great at the NFL level, no matter which position he plays. And he could be a corner one. He could end up being a safety. And if none of them work out, he could be a cover backer. I love Israel Mukuamu. I don't care where he goes. I don't care what team. I would almost want a jersey. Just an absolute monster.
That's fair.
I need to see Israel. I can't wait to see where he goes, man. I can't wait.
The problem is
I have him as a
with all my draft crushes is I've already talked about them pretty much.
That's the best part of me is nobody's seen mine.
So my corner, Shamar John Charles. I talked about a little bit from Appalachian State. At the start of his career, because he's going to be a special teams ace primarily. But dude has some ability. He's 5'11", 180, so a little bit undersized, but not too terribly undersized, as some other corners may be. But he showed the ability to play outside and inside corner. Great in man coverage. He has a little bit of tight hipness, which might keep him in the nickel for his NFL career. But he's a great developmental player in the later rounds. My comparison to him would probably be, just because I'm so familiar with him, Asang Bassi last year, the Broncos undrafted corner. He could have been a late round selection, but he went undrafted and ended up being pretty solid, especially being before he got injured, of course, for a late round undrafted that primarily played nickel. I think Shamar John Charles can be that role, late round corner that you want to develop. Could be in the nickel, could be a special teams ace. He's just that valuable.
Yeah. Oh my lord.
What?
I just saw a Gridiron or a Bleacher Report Gridiron redrafting the 2020 NFL draft, and I kind of puked a little in my mouth. I'm sorry.
Oh lord.
That was disgusting. Anyway, that's for another week. I'll put that in the bookmarks. Oh boy.
I'm gonna take a look at this real quick.
Oh boy, not good. All right, I'm gonna go with my new edge. Now edge is a weird position because the first round guys are all mid to late first, or pretty. We've talked about a lot, especially in our mocks. But I don't think one guy that gets talked about nearly as much is Shaka Toney out of Penn State. First of all, right off the bat, his size is a concern. He's 6'3", 250. So right away, doesn't really have that what you think about of a premier edge height. But his game, in my opinion, is eerily similar to Matthew Judon. I don't think he's got that move at the NFL level, which is probably his biggest concern. His pass rush is pretty much based on his athleticism, which is his biggest worry. However, I do think there is a need in the NFL for a Matthew Judon type player, someone that can drop into coverage if needed, someone that can rush the passer, someone to fill space. And honestly, he's going to be probably a third or fourth round pick. Not going to be the highest, not going to have a lot of expectations. And I do think with that 4.55 speed, I think there's a chance he could be a Matthew Judon type player. And hey, if you're a Matthew Judon type player, he just got a $60 million contract. That's nothing to shrug at. Not my favorite player. I was going to go different edge, but I think Shaka Toney worth mentioning because no one else is mentioning him at all.
That's fair.
I'll give him that.
I think this guy was my first ever college player of the week. I'm going to go with Cameron McGrone out of Michigan for my second linebacker. I believe he was my first ever college player of the week. I really love his game. He's great range. Just great starting Mike linebacker for the Michigan Wolverines. He's a bit undersized, 6'1", 232. But you could definitely see him being a great NFL linebacker. He has all the physical tools that you need. He's great as the guy with Mike in his helmet. Sorry, calling the plays. He can do that. He could pick up in man coverage. He can go out wide against tight ends if you need. You could just play him anywhere basically over the middle of the field. Especially he's a great blitzer on the inside too. That's another underrated part of his game. I really like him. I think he can be a really great linebacker. I think he's underrated even though he's projected third or fourth round pick. I have him graded as like a second, late first.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with.
We're at an hour and 10 minutes, by the way, so we might want to speed this up.
Let's hurry it up then. I'm gonna go safety, Andre Cisco. Coming off a huge ACL injury, but he had 13 career interceptions in his first 3 years. Just a ball hawk, and it's that simple. His size is a concern, 6'1", 209. But man, if there's one thing Andre Cisco knows how to do, it's to go get the ball. And I think that is pretty valuable in the NFL. And I really do like his game. Do I think he's going to be a day one player? I don't know about that. I think you may see him in some packages early in his career, but I think he needs a year to really learn the game, to bulk up a little bit. But I tell you, man, he is a ball hawk. And when you're talking about pure ball hawking skills in this class, he's definitely up there. And that ACL injury was pretty unfortunate, but again, man, whenever you're bored, just watch Andre Cisco tape. It brightens your day out. Just say this. Yeah, Andre Cisco out of Syracuse.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and go with Caden Stearns out of Texas. I talked about him a little bit before on a podcast. He was a player of the week, I think, or I talked about him in my draft episode. He's basically my Justin Simmons of this year's draft. He's a do-it-all safety. He's 6 foot, 210 pounds. He doesn't really have a glaring need, a glaring negative. I guess his biggest negative is that he's only an average athlete, but he's still extremely smart and has enough athletic ability to play in the NFL at a decently high level.
All right, my final defensive player is Ife Tumelon-Fon. Again, third straight defensive back that I like height, weight, and speed on. Is that an issue? No. Um, he was great for Miami, man. Really stepped up. I really do think he's completely opposite of his brother. His brother was a very physical safety. This guy is a corner. I don't think he'll ever play safety in the NFL. He's 6'3", 213. He got 36-inch arms, 4'4", 40. Kind of like what Kwamu's physical was.
Yeah.
He's physical, man. He sticks to the corners on the receivers on the line. Doesn't really let him through. His issue, his zone coverage is a little iffy. And sometimes, like you said, he kind of worries more about the highlight play than the right play. His tackling is pretty concerned, which is why I don't see him playing safety. But again, that size, that speed at corners is really valuable. I could see him being an outside corner day one. And he's going to need some time to develop, but I think, again, you can do that while you're playing. Another player where, honestly, no matter where he goes, he's going to fit the scheme in some way. It's just his zone coverage does need time. I'd say maybe late second, early third. You could see him maybe fall depending on his how people view it. Again, and his brother kind of being a bust probably doesn't help him.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't.
I think he separated himself from his brother. I think the no combine helped. He's going to fly under the radar a little bit, but again, man, if you watch his tape at Miami, very sticky corner, and at 6'3", that's valuable.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to go ahead and name off just like the rest of my guys, not really go in depth in them at all, just because we're already an hour and 10 minutes in and we still have the quarterbacks to go over.
Yeah.
So interior defensive line, Marvin Wilson out of Florida State and Davian Nixon out of Iowa. Already talked about them on the podcast. Edge rushers, Jalen Phillips and Azeez Ojulari as my edge rusher ones, and Quincy Rush is one of my mid-round gems. Linebacker Monty Rice, I talked about him on the podcast earlier. Mid-round gem, really like him and his coverage ability. Asante Samuel Jr., my cornerback one, talked about him. Jack Jones, already talked about him on the podcast. Elijah Griffin, talked about him on the podcast. Safety, Richard LeCount out of Georgia, already talked about him in the podcast. And then defensive weapon, Hamza Nasir-Ladin out of Florida State. I already talked about him.
All right. Quarterbacks, the most important position. Spoiler alert, I don't think we'll be talking about any of the top first round guys. But I still like these two guys. I'm going to start off with the one I don't like as much. My third player out of Notre Dame, Ian Book. Now, here's the issue with Ian Book. I have a whole notepad, 2 pages about Ian Book. I'm just going to summarize it like this. He's a great in the pocket, comfortable in the pocket. He knows how to evade pressure, steps up. There's a few plays if you want to look at him. I think it was against Clemson where he escaped like 3 or 4 pressures from the pocket, stepped up, threw like a 20-yard bomb. Issues is he's not very big. He's only 6 foot, 200, which is a huge concern. His footwork is okay, but he definitely looks a little clumsy at times. His throwing on the run is his best attribute. His improvisation, perfect. It's just I don't think he has the NFL arm to really play. But at the same time, I wouldn't put out of the realm of possibility for him to be an interesting third quarterback for a team that eventually develops. Wouldn't shock me, but he's definitely going to need a year or two to A, bulk, and B, definitely learn a playbook. But he threw 89 touchdowns in college. Would be valuable. I don't know. But I don't know. The late round quarterbacks are a little iffy for me.
Yeah, one of my friends said he's a first round pick. I'm like, yeah, no. No. Absolutely not.
If every other quarterback in the class be committed, maybe. Even then, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think I had his pro comp as, what did I write down? His pro comp was like I had his pro comp as a Jarrett Stidham.
Stidham probably has a stronger arm.
Stidham can't throw, period.
So I'm going to go with my first of the two. I'm going to go with the one I've already talked about. Kellen Mond. You already know how I like Kellen Mond. I was one of the earliest people on Kellen Mond hype train. Not as nearly as high as some people are on Kellen Mond, but I think I'd take him in the third round. I'd take the shot in the third round, honestly. You probably already heard a lot about Kellen Mond. I already talked to him on the podcast. I don't want to waste more time here since we're already an hour 15 in. So Kellen Mond, Texas A&M quarterback, draft crush.
All right. I'll talk about this. Nobody's high on this quarterback. I feel like I'm the only quarterback or only person in the goddamn universe
Kyle
that actually
Trask.
you know what? It is Kyle Trask. You know what? And I don't feel bad about it. Hold on, let me find it real quick. Yeah. First of all, the obvious. Okay, the kid can play. Yeah, he only had 1 year. Yeah, he had Tony, Pitts, and Grimes. Yeah, I've heard all that. I don't care. Listen, I like his arm strength. I think his arm strength is above average. I really do like his footwork. Huge concern. He looks like an oaf at times in the pocket. I agree. The man looks a little clumsy for his height. But at the end of the day,
extremely inconsistent.
consistency is definitely one. But at the same time, I still think he has all the tools. I think he's got the moxie for it. And at the end of the day, I think he is going to be a great developmental quarterback. I would not be mad with New England picking him in the late first if they traded back. Would I be ecstatic about us trading back? No, I want us to trade up. If we were to somehow trade back into the late first, early second, I wouldn't be mad about us picking Trask as a developmental quarterback. I think he's got it. I think after this season, he'll be a starter in the NFL. You heard it here first.
I don't know about that one, Chief.
Calling it. I'm calling it. You can diss me in a year. I don't care. I'm calling it. He's going to be a starter in 2022.
I'm going to go with Davis Mills, the quarterback out of Stanford. 6'4", 222. He has average athleticism. He's a better athlete than Mac Jones, in my opinion. And he's just a better athlete and quarterback prospect, in my opinion, overall than Mac Jones in terms of physical tools. Strong. He has a good arm. Not great, but good. He has a good arm. Probably Kyle Trask level, I'd say. He does great. He does a great job manipulating the pocket. Good subtle moves. He's not good outside the pocket. If you get him outside the pocket on purpose, you're doing yourself a disservice. So, Sean McVay, stay away. He's not very good on boots and RPOs and play action, naked plays. He's very competitive. He's great short and intermediate area. He has shown some great touch on his deep passes, but he's inconsistent deep. So you'll probably want to put him in an offense where he can get that short over the middle stuff, and he'll be very good there. Occasionally deep passes. He has an injury history, so that's something else you want to worry about. But other than that, I think he's a good quarterback prospect. Probably second, third round player. You'll see him go. I like to see him in Pittsburgh, honestly. I think Pittsburgh would be my ideal situation for him. Pittsburgh or Chicago.
Wow, if you want to know how out of date my quarterback rankings, I have Desmond Ridder still on here. Yeah, so that's it. That was a long episode. That took us a little while.
Yeah.
Overall, man, this draft, I'm excited for it. I'm excited for in a few weeks, and the stream is going to be hilarious. I hope y'all stay in tune. Sorry about the long episode. We'll probably get some more storylines in next week. We may continue our rankings, positional rankings from the NFL. We actually talk about NFL football for a change. I haven't talked about that in a while. Talked a few weeks. But thank you guys for staying in the long haul, and see you next